hashtag sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the sixth edition of the 2020 Buffalo Bills post-game report. I am Mario, that is Paul. We are hashtag sports, and we have some stuff to tell you guys tonight. Hopefully we're going to set your mind at ease, but the Buffalo Bills fall to the Kansas City Chiefs 26-17 in their own house. They did not defend their dirt. A lot of us are upset. A lot of you are in the chat. If you're in the chat, if you wouldn't mind going hitting that like button, and if you're new here and you enjoy all the Buffalo Bills content, be sure to turn that red subscribe button gray, get all your notifications. Paul.
Yep.
It was not pretty, but
nope.
I had messaged you throughout the game, right, roughly around the late second quarter, early third quarter, and
yep,
there were some things that were going on, and I kind of figured out what Frazier and McDermott wanted to do, and it seemed very apparent, but they weren't doing it successfully. And we didn't see a lot of blitzes dialed up. We didn't see a lot of pressure being brought to Mahomes because of the undermanned secondary that you pretty much had. And, the chat is booming tonight. We got everyone, Grendel, Apex, Paul Berg, Madden, Bills Mafia. It's lighting up, and we know you guys are upset. We know you guys are perturbed, would be the term, for the Buffalo Bills performance tonight. But, you know what? Initially, like I said, I think I figured out what Frazier McDermott wanted to do tonight. It just didn't really happen. But if you think about the fact that you were able to, you wanted to limit the explosiveness of the Chiefs' offense in their passing game. So what is the concession you have to make? The concession you have to make is you're going to have to give up some stuff in the run.
Right.
Not 7 yards a carry. Not 7 yards a carry.
That's a big concession. Well, and to be fair, Mar, I think the Bills were really willing to call Reed's bluff and say, we don't think you're going to run the ball 35 times in a game. Like, go ahead, we dare you. And Reed is not an idiot. He's like, okay, well, then we'll run the ball 35 times. This was the most they've ever run the ball ever under Andy Reid in Kansas City. And that was something I think the Bills were willing to gamble against. They said, listen, we're going to take away the pass from you. We're going to do the best we can to take away the pass. And they really kept Hill nearly uninvolved, right?
Yes.
Travis Kelce was in the red zone a threat, but otherwise came up with a couple really key snags, but wasn't a reliant on their offense. Wasn't reliant on him necessarily. I mean, he came up in big moments, but he wasn't a 12-target guy today. They rode Hilaire, and why would you not? Right? You're in a 4th and inches in the red zone. You're averaging like 9 yards a carry at that point. You should go for the 4th and inches, right?
Yes.
Like, this is a no-brainer scenario. Yeah. But I think the Bills kind of depended on their linebacking group to be able to shut down and close those gaps in the run. And that just wasn't that is just not who these Bills are right now.
I mean, like I said, the initial game plan, I think, from McDermott and Frazier was, like you just said, they were going to try to call his bluff. You're not going to run, you're not going to run. And, I mean, Hill chiming in with just one catch for 5 yards. I mean, like you said, Kelce was effective in the red zone. It tipped me, initially what it tipped me off is that when they were in the red zone, and I think they were inside the 15-yard line, and the Bills were still playing zone across the board. Now, usually that's a place where teams will play man down there in the red zone. But since you're undermanned to compete with a offense, the firepower of the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, you can't really do that. And I mean, Nautica Hears comes in and says, we lost by 9 to the defending Super Bowl champs. I'm not worried. I mean, you think about it. I thought that the performance tonight, even though the Buffalo Bills, and I know you guys are going to think I'm insane, even though the Buffalo Bills gave up so many yards on the ground, they were still in a position to try to win the game. I mean, they stopped them on that 3rd and 19. We're having a completely different talk about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm not worried about the Buffalo Bills right now. I think, and even Grendel came in the chat, he said, we might lose to the Jets. You know what? I think that's a little bit of a stretch that the Buffalo Bills would lose to the Jets. I think this is you start to see how matchups work in the NFL, where 1 week you're playing a team, 1 week like this, and 1 week you're playing a team like that. Do you think that this game plan, Paul, was derivative of what happened against the Tennessee Titans, you think that because the Tennessee Titans were able to throw the ball and when they had guys that were working at UPS the week before catching it, do you think that was a cause for like, listen, all right, we need to shorten this game immensely against this team because we can't go up and down the field like crazy with these guys because our defense just can't do it. Do you think that they're like, listen, we got to shorten this game up? And to one of Troy Aikman's points that he had, oh my God, he had like ridiculous ones, but he said both teams had 4 possessions in the first half. You're down 13-10. Yep. And they gave you 3 points at the end of the half. You didn't take it, apparently. Right. So, like I said, when my initial question was that, do you think that this was derivative of what happened last week against on Tuesday against Tennessee?
So here's where I come along for the ride with you on this one, right? So there are some very stark similarities between the Tennessee game and this game from a defensive standpoint, right? Yeah. The Bills are just hemorrhaging yardage on the ground. We could say that's by design. But let's be real. Every team in the NFL is going to say we could run on the Bills all day, so let's just run on the Bills all day, right? So at some point, it's not game plan. It's not taking away the pass. It's you're just bad at stopping the run. So I don't know if I'm really there yet, but I'm getting really close to there. But opposite side of that coin is Tyler Bass is just bad from the right hash. He is literally just bad. We can laugh about it, but it's true. Every kick from the right hash, he's either missed or he's shaved one, right? Everything else he's kicked from the left hash has been dead straight right down the middle. But anything from the right hash is like out of bounds to him. I don't know what it is, but something's up there. And to be honest with you, I think once we start looking at the concept that the Bills are running, they ran a lot of zone today, right? Why do they run a lot of zone? Well, because they didn't have to run man because they didn't really blitz. That's sort of the one thing that's kind of like the biggest tell to the Bills defense is when they're blitzing because you see them go to man, right? And because you can't blitz off zone. Can you explain a little bit about why you don't blitz off a zone? Like why there are various like blitzes, a 4-wide set.
Well, no, there are various blitz packages you can run as a zone blitz. You can run the zone blitzes, but the Buffalo Bills have run that in the past. But you're talking about a guy in Patrick Mahomes who, to his credit, sat behind Alex Smith for a year. He has Andy Reid and Bieniemy as his offensive coaches. Mm-hmm. This guy knows what's going on. So if you wanted to, okay, what are we going to try to do to defend this? If we blitz him, he's going to get the ball out fast anyway. He's got a quick release. We don't want to open up spots for him. If you blitz, you're vacating an area where a guy would usually be covering. So what you have to do is you have to play man behind that in order to cover the guys that are going to be on the field. Now, if you look to a man for the Buffalo Bills and their defense, do you have the guys to a man to play with the Kansas City Chiefs? Even with Sammy Watkins you got a guy named Pringle that caught 2 passes tonight. For the Kansas City Chiefs, like I don't even know where to start with that. But you're talking about Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. A lot of Buffalo Bills fans were worried about, okay, are you going to put Edmunds on him? You're going to put Poyer on him? Are you going to bring Marlowe in? What are you going to do? You can't put Teron Johnson on him. You maybe bring Ciaran Neal. I like Ciaran Neal on him. But, there's not many guys in the league that cover Kelce anyway. So it's one of those matchups that's just a nightmare for any defense. So by playing zone and dropping 7, you're going to force Mahomes to try to read it. The problem that happened with the Buffalo Bills in their front 4 was, A, they weren't getting enough pressure up in the pocket right into his face. B, what they were doing was sometimes those ends would crash in, something that Trent Murphy does not do. I understand nobody likes Trent Murphy in this chat, but he's a guy that always plays his responsibility. Twice, I saw Hughes go inside. Mahomes was able to roll, especially on that 3rd and 19, and he was able to hit that big play that ended up sealing the game for him. So, in that's the long-winded version of why you don't blitz. They did dial up some blitzes when they were for sure going to be run plays. They knew it was going to be a run play, and they dialed up some run blitzes and whatnot. But overall, I wasn't against, and you even told me today, what is this, Super Bowl 25 with the Bills and the Giants? You know what I mean? It seemed like to me that if the Kansas City Chiefs, like if you want to take that philosophy, if the Kansas City Chiefs held the ball for the same amount of time the Buffalo Bills did, they would have blew them out. Right. Well, you're talk about, okay, well, they held the ball for like almost 35, 36 minutes. And you still were in a position at the end of the game to win it. What you wanted to do was you wanted them to run not as successfully as they did, because you got to think about it. The Buffalo Bills are coming off 2 games where they faced Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, where they only gave them just over 50 yards rushing. So they probably said, listen, we're fine giving Edwards-Helaire 80, 90 yards. That's fine. If it shortens up the game for them, that's fine. But I don't think they expected, because I saw guys in Edmunds' chest 4 yards down the field. You cannot have that.
Agreed. You know, and I just have a real big gripe about Edmunds, just quickly, is Edmunds is really struggling to transition speed to power, right? We talk about speed to power from a defensive end standpoint. Like when we start talking about, you know, scouting guys, you talk about that speed to power conversion. Edmunds just doesn't have it right now, which tells me one of two things. Either he is really not sure what's happening in front of him and he's super tentative, and that's why we're seeing Edmunds getting bounced around like Kiko. Because that's what I'm seeing. I don't see Edmunds tackling through anybody.
Let's not go to the legend of Kiko now. That guy was a doormat.
I'm just saying.
That guy wore more fields on his back than anybody. So let's not go to Kiko. But before we get to the next point, real quick, I just want to break in tables. Bill's talk, because it says we were missing star in that D-line. The D-line was getting thrown around like pillows. And what a selfish move by Diggs, walking back to the line. I don't know about that. But you know what?
We should talk about that.
We should talk about that. But the thing is, why I talked about the defense playing the way they did, and maybe the philosophy that came into this game and allowing Kansas City to run, or choosing to get beaten by the run instead of the pass, was those two penalties you saw on Trey White and Poyer that led to that field goal. I believe that was the field goal. That, to me, that was frustration. I think they were so annoyed with this game plan for getting run up and down the field on, that they were like, whoa, what's going on? We got to change something up. But you know what? When you're past the point of no return, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
If they would have changed it up, Mahomes would have been peppering the ball over the field.
Right. Yep. Right. And I think that's sort of where they were, right? From a personnel standpoint, I'm not going to say that you missed Matt Milano. Like Matt Milano's the reason that this all happened. But I will say that watching AJ Klein overrun everything, I'm getting real tired of that. Like AJ Klein had a thank you fumble, forced fumble from Kelsey. He overran Kelsey and just stuck his arm back out, right? That was a clutch and grab. That's all that was. So he didn't read that at all. And Tremaine got caught up a ton, that 4th and inches. Tremaine jumps the gap, jumps inside, vacates the gap, and there's the touchdown on 4th and inches. You make that stop, right? If that's the stop you make, we're talking a completely different football game, completely different. But that touchdown on 4th and inches, that was the beginning of the end, right? Because even though the Bills were able to mount a comeback, you were always an arm's reach away because you gave up that touchdown on 4th and inches.
Yes.
That's where it was.
There were points in the game, even though you're getting dragged up and down the field for 7 yards of carry, you were limiting what their most valuable player was on offense, which was Patrick Mahomes. You were limiting him. Okay. You're going to look at the stat box tomorrow when you watch this, or you watch it now, you're like 21 for 26 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. Okay. Right. It wasn't a Mahomes game, though. I mean, you expect 350 out of this guy. You know what I mean? Every week, because that's how and when teams try to do that, they try to say, okay, we're going to gamble a little bit here. Mahomes makes them pay because the guy could put it anywhere on the field. And I understand that. You had that fourth and 1 that you had to stop them. Edmunds went the wrong way. I mean, Jefferson did get in there, but he looked like taller than the Statue of Liberty in there. And then you had that 3rd and 19. You had points in the game where, even though you were getting run up and down the field, you had opportunities to win, not just to be competitive. I started to get the feeling as the Baltimore game last year near the end of that game. I was like, well, they're down 20-10. Are they just being competitive? You know what I mean? This is the way that they're going to do it. But to flip the other side of the ball was that you had to capitalize on the offensive possessions. If your game plan was to limit the amount of possessions that you had and to limit the amount of possessions that Kansas City has, you got to score on yours. That's also on them. Rain aside, Allen being hurt aside, Quentin Spain not in the lineup, Ford getting hurt. I mean, you still got to produce. You still got to produce. And there were some bad throws by Allen. I'm not going to excuse him for that. But a lot of times he had to kind of shuffle around to get those throws off. So, I talked about it on a Cold Front Report, which is going on live later tonight if you guys want to check that out. On the Sunday night tailgate, I said that Spagnuolo was going to implore something that he did during the Super Bowl, which was that they were going to do man under 2 deep. Force Allen to go second level. And it was tough for him. It was tough for him today.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that got me, right, was there were 3 pass interference penalties called on the same corner for KC, right? You should be going after him. Keep going after him.
Yes.
Right? Keep going after him. But that wasn't in the game plan for whatever reason, right? Allen did check to a great pass. He checked out to a pass down the sidelines. I think that one was to Diggs, and it was a great checkout, right? But for some reason, I'm not going to say weather is to blame in any way, right? But I do think weather did have something to do with it, because the Bills absolutely pissed away their very first drive, right? You throw the ball 3 times in a row when it's raining outside. You didn't even attempt to run the football until your next possession, right? Like the game plan, I still struggle with here, right? If they really thought they were going to come out and be able to throw the football down the field in rainy conditions, I don't think they were really prepared for that. That first possession angered me so much, Mario.
Oh, it did. I mean,
so
it was not, and that's part of the script. You know, the first 10, 15, maybe 17 plays that you have is part of the script. And what was the script to do? I mean, if you're going to come out and throw, I saw Allen changing some plays in there, back and forth, and to plays that were mildly successful when he changed them. You know what I mean? Mildly successful. I mean, that's putting it mildly. But I mean, this run game's got to get off the ground. It didn't seem like, when something does not work in your offensive game plan, you got to work ways around that. And I haven't seen that yet. Either adjustments by Allen or original play calls by Daboll. I haven't seen that. Now, obviously, if I look at the tape, I'm going to see something different. But initially, my initial reaction when watching the game, I was like, okay, what are they going to try to do? They're going to try to play their nickel and dime football. Mm-hmm. Not really stretch the field very much. They want to dump it out underneath. They want to try to run the ball. They want to try to control the clock even when they have it. So it's I'm not willing to hit the panic button. Like I said it before on an episode. I said, listen, if the Chiefs would have lost this game, they're 4-2. They're not worried. They've been to the dance. They know it's a marathon, not a sprint. The Buffalo Bills and the fans, I understand that. You really need to know that it's a marathon. You're 4-2 after 6 games, 2-0 in your own division. You hold a game in hand with Miami, who's in second. So there's nothing to worry about until there's something to worry about. Now, you want to worry about the run defense? That's fine. You can worry about the run defense. But I think that was part of if the part of the game plan is to allow the other team to run so they don't throw and rack up 42 points on you, I guess I'm okay with that, because they're professionals. You know, they diagnosed this and said, listen, to a man, who's going to cover Hill? Who's going to cover Kelsey all day? If we blitz left and right, what's going to happen? Who's going to cover Hilaire out of the backfield? You know what I mean? It's and then they brought in Zimmer and Cox, who seem to be playing very well. Zimmer with the guys out the practice squad, he ends up ripping the ball out. I mean, but his knee was down. I understand that, but that's a guy that probably earned a few more looks. But
yeah, I mean, and let's say the truth about this. You know, Kansas City offensive line, their guard play is outstanding.
Oh my God.
Like, they have outstanding guard play.
They do.
And that's one thing that I really took away from the game today was Travis Kelce he impacts a game literally at every level, right? He's a dominant run blocker. Even when he's out running routes, he's dragging coverage and taking bodies with him. You know, like the pass to Pringle, that's because Kelce stopped and Poyer and Edmunds and Kelce all collided, and Pringle was able to slip in behind him, right? Like, Kelce impacts the game at every single level, and that's something the Bills don't have on this roster, is a tight end who literally is impactful at every level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if Dawson Knox was healthy, Dawson Knox in no way offers you the things that Travis Kelce does.
It would be very tough. Yeah, it would be very tough, because you're looking at what Spagnuolo decided to do to the offense today in the Buffalo Bills was let's punch them in the mouth at the line. Let's get them off their routes early. You know, but like you said, on the other side, was it Breland? Breland had trouble. So if one of your goals was to try to highlight your best player on offense, which is Diggs, or your most explosive receiver, which is Diggs, why not? Why not keep going at him? If they give it to you, they give it to you. That's one of the things that I didn't understand as the progression of the game started to go on. You started to say, okay, all right, down 13-10 at the half, I think a lot of people would have taken that. If it was tied 13 at the half, I understand that too. So I think going into the half, they're like, all right, we're there. Even though we've had some mistakes and we haven't been able to capitalize on certain drives, we're there. Okay? We're there with the defending Super Bowl champions, if you want to say that. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's fine in that respect. And like I said, I know there's a lot of stuff coming on in the chat. G-Rock, Paul Berg, Big Spence, Skippy and Dub Rats back here, Rocco, or Rico. The thing about, I'm not as concerned about this team because of the matchup they were trying to, because of what I think they were trying to do offensively and just defensively. Because offensively, I'm still confused about what kind of a team do they want to be. I mean, Josh Allen was your leading rusher today, and he's hurt. Paul, he's hurt.
Oh yeah,
he is hurt. Some of those plays he could have taken off and went, and he just conceded it. He's like, I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to slide. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to take any huge hits. And I understand he should be doing more of that, but I almost want to see him out on the edge more. If you want to give the kid more ways to be successful, you have a levels concept route tree on half the field. Give him half the field to read. Now, what I mean by a levels is you have one route short, you have one route a little bit intermediate, and you have one route going deep. In a cover two, if you flood a zone like that, it's going to be very difficult to defend because they have to make a choice. So they're either going to make a choice at the deep route, the intermediate, or the short, and Allen running.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you here.
Okay.
And here's why I respectfully disagree.
All right.
Because if Josh Allen misses time, the opportunity for the Bills to win the AFC East is over. It's over. Because this defense will not be able to hold up. Right? We know that. And I've seen this brought up a bunch. I've seen this brought up a bunch in the chat, and it's all correct. This is the most expensive defensive line in football. They have a complete lack of getting pressure at any time. Doesn't matter, right? Your linebacking group is a shell of itself. You got some major deficiencies on this roster, and the one good thing is that you've got a quarterback who could pretty much keep the train moving, right? He could pretty much move you down the field. He's athletic enough to make mistakes and athletic enough to make great plays out of nothing, right? But also inexperienced enough to make some silly mistakes. But that comes with the territory. If you lose Josh Allen for any more than 2 or 3 games, you're kissing this division goodbye, and they know that. They know that. Now, does that mean that you play careful? I think you kind of have to a little bit. But this team has made a lot of concessions. Look at the running back room. There's a major concession right there. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss looked terrible today, if you ask me.
Are you?
Yeah, I thought he looked terrible today.
Are you summoning the ghost of Dak Prescott right now?
No, what are you talking about?
You're saying you can't afford to lose Allen. I understand that. And I'm not saying that you have designed quarterback runs for the guy. I'm talking just getting him out on the edge. I'm not saying that you're putting him in harm's way by doing that. And Anthony, I agree with Paul. If you lose Allen, but that's not, I think we're talking apples and oranges here. I'm saying that you got to get the kid out of the pocket. Get him on the run. We've seen how he throws when he's off balance sometimes. It seems to be better than when he's in the pocket. You know?
I think the goal is to get him moving forward in the pocket, not backwards, right? He makes mistakes going backwards. He makes good plays going forward.
He does.
And that's what they really need to work on with him, is getting him to make those motions in the pocket forward and not backwards.
Yeah, but I want to make it clear, Paul, and to the chat. Chat, I love you guys. Hashtag Nation. You guys are the best. I am not saying we need more called design runs for Allen. I'm saying maybe. He's hurt, and I understand trying to protect your investment in the franchise, but get him out of there then. Get him on the edge. Have a guy chip. Have him get on the edge. They ran a couple screens today. Paul Berg, Spain was inactive today. I don't know what's going on with Spain.
Foot.
His foot. Okay. Which, if you've ever seen a refrigerator, if you lose a leg on a fridge, that thing ain't moving. That being said, I want to make the game easier for him. That's what I want to do. And right now, it seems like he's guessing sometimes when he's back there. And you got to take the guesswork out of it. That's your job as an OC and a quarterback coach. You got to take the guesswork out of it. Now, if he's just not reading it, it's another thing. We will not know that answer, and no one else does either. So anyone tells you that they do, they don't. Okay.
Well, And let's get to sort of the elephant in the room, and that was the Stephon Diggs illegal motion penalty.
Yep.
So, and you saw this play, right?
I was watching the game.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Because there was a lot going on, or there was a lot of not a lot going on, because those refs were very confused as to what to do. So Diggs is walking back, right? I don't think he really anticipated having to come back quickly to the line. I don't know why. You have no timeouts and you're under 2 minutes. Like, a little urgency there would be preferred.
Yep.
To me, it looked like he set, right? So I didn't really get the penalty, but I didn't appreciate the lack of urgency, right? And this is going to be the first red flag that a lot of people throw in the air to say, this is Diggs and that attitude problem. Things are great when you're winning, but maybe they're not so great when you're not winning. And at that point, it's a tall task to come back into the football game, right? So do you think this is the first red flag, or do you think this is just not an issue?
Why do you got to open, Paul? Oh God, why do you got to open up that
I'm
can
asking
of worms,
because
man?
I'm asking because that's what the chat's asking.
That's what I know. Right? I understand, and the chat loves to do this to me. I don't know why. I don't know. I understand that. Can you imagine what Diggs would be thinking about in Minnesota right now if he was there? Let's just put it that way. It could be. I don't know. I don't know enough about Diggs other than what I saw in Minnesota, and he was a guy who was opposite of Thielen, who is a heck of a player in his own right. You had a tight end there in Rudolph that could play pretty well. You had a running back. You had the $86 million man, which is Kirk Cousins, who can't stop throwing picks. I don't know what the dynamic in there that made him upset, or people call him a diva.
Right.
And you know what? We have always said on this show is that winning cures everything. Winning will cure everything that goes on, whether there's problems here or not. I don't know. I don't think, though, walking back to the line in a game that's out of reach, I don't know if that would be a red flag for me. Like, if it consistently, like, if he caught a pass on the sideline and threw the ball in the guy's face, okay, maybe I would think something of that nature. But
right.
I think it was just probably a lack of communication. Like, he knows he has to get back. He got back and got set to his own accord. Maybe he didn't hear the call. I don't know.
I don't think he knew it was clear that he didn't know what the call was.
He had no idea.
Right.
No.
Right.
But I mean, here's the thing, and I keep seeing it in the chat. In the Jets name keeps coming up. There's two concessions that Bills fans could take with them after tonight. They could say, listen, the Buffalo Bills are 4-2 and lost to the two teams that represented the AFC in the championship game last year. You could say that. You could say that two teams that after 6 weeks only have one loss between them. Okay.
Right.
All right. You could say that if the Buffalo Bills beat the Jets next week, I believe they have the Jets next week, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. They're 5-2, 3-0 in the division. I mean, that is a pretty good thing. You're playing Flacco next week. I mean, can we just get by this, please? And they don't have Bell anymore. So what are we really worried about? I mean, what are we really hitting the panic button? I mean, I understand you don't like to lose. I don't like to lose either. I'm not part of the team.
Right.
And I don't like to watch the team that I cheer for lose. I understand that. And the passion that the chat has right now, I absolutely love it. I wish I could bottle it up and have it every day. But my point is this. There's certain things that you got to take a look at and evaluate that is going on the field, game planning, players, what's going on. There's guys that are hurt. There's guys that aren't 100%. There's guys that certain plays are out there to be made that they're not making. We understand that. I mean, you can take the negativity of, hey, we have the most expensive defensive line in the league, and what's it doing? What's it doing? Honestly, that Chiefs line is probably one of the best in the league. So, I mean, take from that what you will. I don't think the Bills foresaw the fact that they were going to give up 7 yards a carry.
Well, I do want to point out that is obviously a championship caliber offense, right? Like, that's clear as day. It's a championship caliber offense. And the whole goal on defense for them is just to be as aggressive as possible, right? If you're going to get penalties, you're going to get penalties. Just play aggressive, and that's it, right? They play a ton of aggressive man-to-man because they want to put pressure, right? So they play a lot of man-to-man. Buffalo on the opposite side of that coin, I don't really feel the cohesiveness between, the communication across the offensive line. Lots of pieces in and out, but Kansas City had injuries today too. And you can't say that their offensive production suffered because it didn't, right? So I don't really feel like there's a great gel between the intent of communication between the offensive line, the quarterback's coach, and the offensive coordinator. It's just not enough for me yet, right?
Yeah.
And the Bills are scoring at a great rate. Like if you told me, the Bills were going to drop 20 points every week, easily, I'd be like, okay, yeah, all right, let's start talking about some football. If you said the Bills were going to be 4-2 after 6 weeks, you lost to Kansas City, I'd be like, well, yeah, I kind of expected them to lose to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these we're not in a place that we didn't expect to be. I think the way we got there is what hurts.
I think,
right?
yeah, because you come out of the gates firing at 4-0, putting up 30 points a game.
Right.
You're like, okay, this is supposed to happen every week, and that's not the way the NFL works.
Right. But the problem is you lost to 2 playoff teams. Right? Isn't that where we are? You lost to 2 AFC playoff teams.
The championship
that's what
team.
hurts.
They represented the championship, the AFC in the championship game last year. So, I mean,
right.
I was upset more last week because it felt like they were lethargic. There was no fight. There was no focus. Offsides penalties, stupid penalties here and there. I think the 2 penalties that were on, like I said, Poyer and White, I think that was just out of sheer frustration. I think that's what it was. And then you look into this game, I was more concerned if they were going to lose this game, how they played. Now, I wasn't happy with how they played, but it was a stark contrast to what they did last week.
Right.
I just think it was.
Well, and I saw that that Clayton, CG Clip 716.
You're going to take the bait.
What? He talked about, I think they're going to make a move and cut Murphy to make room. Is that the bait?
He said, can we talk about the $9 million healthy scratch? And you just gave it to him.
Yeah. So I think, and the reason that I bring that up is for a couple different reasons, right? One, Trent Murphy's a vested veteran. So if you're going to cut him, you're only going to save whatever prorated bonus money you haven't already paid to him. So I know they say that he saves money by cutting him, but he's a vested veteran at this point. His contract's guaranteed. He's getting paid whether he's on the Bills or not. Yep. Same kind of thing happened with Le'Veon Bell. His contract was written for the guarantees, so the Jets were going to pay him regardless, but he's a vested veteran, so there's salary guarantees are already there. Yeah. So are you saving money letting him go? Not really, right? No. Is it best to trade him? If you can find somebody to take Trent Murphy off your hands, go ahead. But you can't tell me that sitting Harrison Phillips and sitting Trent Murphy was more effective for your defense today, because it didn't happen.
No.
Right?
No, it wasn't.
We can complain about Trent Murphy and Harrison Phillips till our faces are blue, but the fact is you got rolled for almost 300 yards on the ground today, right? So, I mean, how effective were these changes really, right? And what does that say about your depth, right? Like, if you're trying to cover up for a linebacking group that's banged up, you're not doing a real good job of
No, you're not. No. Yep. See, Clay comes in. He says Hughes is still blowing contain. You can't have that. You can't. You got to play that. That's the one thing I think that we've always stressed in McDermott defenses. Okay, not Frazier. McDermott. In McDermott defenses, the defensive ends were just those. And I always like to bring up this comparison. They were always the hard hat lunch pail guys. Okay, they're going to do their job, not extend more than what they're doing. You want them to set the edge, they're going to set the edge. You want them to just be contained, they're going to be contained. If they happen into a couple of sacks, that's great. But that's what Murphy is. And it seems like you were missing that today. And the other thing is, with your interior defensive linemen, you got to keep bodies off of your backers, man. Like you said, you can't have that. You know what? Star Latulele.
Well, you're not getting them now.
No, we're not. But that's the point.
Not getting them now.
This is the thing. Like I've been very quiet on that front, and everyone's been bringing it up every week when we talk about the run defense and whatever. I thought there were times where people like to point out everything that happened wrong with Star in a game. Oh, he's not doing this, not doing this, not doing this. Well, meanwhile, your linebackers are getting 15, 16 tackles a game. So he was doing his job. So in that, oh my God, no.
What? What? Did you look at the chat?
I did.
Don't worry about the chat.
I just did. It's like the sun. You told me not to look into it. I'm gonna look at the sun. Marcel Darius.
Still available.
Oh God, he will. He's wearing his captain's hat somewhere. But the point is, you start to see what a miss of Star Lotulelei plugging up that middle is for this run defense. Now, did the Bills get run on last year? Yeah, they got run on last year. Every team has those games they get run on. We talked about the Cleveland game. We talked about the Philly game last year. That's what happened. They got run on. However, majority of the time, you're talking about a guy in your middle linebacker in Edmunds who wasn't touched a lot last year. Mm-hmm. And was able to make plays. Who for two straight years, the guy was the leading tackler on your defense. So,
right,
all those things considered, and people are starting to bring up Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips played 53% of the snaps last year. Sure, he had the gaudy numbers with the sacks, but the guy really wasn't a 2.5, 3 down guy that was just going to plug the middle for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what teams are doing.
And the Bills definitely went with the devil that they knew, right? So when they were filling out this roster, they went with a lot of players they were already familiar with. The downside to that is that that talent pool from pulling from other organizations is pretty well used up, right? Yes. So you went with AJ Klein because you thought he was dependable. AJ Klein looks a step behind everything right now, right? Like he just looks a step behind everything. And you went thin in your linebacking room because you felt, well, with Milano and Edmunds, they're going to play 100% of the snaps most of the time anyway. So why are we going to invest big in our linebacker room? So you bring in AJ Klein just to kind of be there to take, a role in whatever you choose to do. But now you're having to depend on him as a 2 to 3 down linebacker. You didn't see a lot of Terrell Dodson today for whatever reason. I couldn't really tell you why. Klein seemed to get more burn than Dodson. All right, fine. And the positions that you went thin in, they're starting to burn you now, right? Yes. Like you're kind of playing carousel at the cornerback position again. You played Trey, but again, you played a ton of zone on Trey, which could cover up any sort of potential injury issues that still are lingering for him. Playing zone is going to be a lot easier on him than playing man. Like, I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah. And you did a lot of things. You played careful today, right? You said, well, you could take these 4 yards every play. And you just never got off of that, right? Yeah. You really didn't take chances till the last 3 minutes of the football game. And it was obvious the direction this team was going. It was obvious that Kansas City was locked into, well, we are just going to run the ball for the rest of this game because they had no reason not to. You never gave them a reason not to run the football on you.
I know.
You encouraged them to do it early.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you're not going to slip a lot of that stuff by Reed. You know what I mean? He found that out pretty early. So, listen, they're going to concede the run. Well, let's run. We'll pass when we need to. Because that's always there. Right. That's their back pocket. A couple guys are asking for Clay Matthews in the chat.
Yeah, I think we're going to cut an episode on that. Yeah, let's cut an episode.
We definitely are going
to. Yeah, we'll cut an episode on that.
We'll have an episode.
I do want to point out, I see people talking about Kyle Williams, people talking about Lorenzo Alexander. I don't know if they're solutions for you anymore. Like Kyle Williams, I think is far past being able to contribute. I'm not frustrated with Ed Oliver today at the level that I have been previously, because again, you're going against one of the best coached offensive lines in the league. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really frustrated with the DT play. I'm really not frustrated with the linebacking group more than I'm frustrated with anything else. So now question for you. Do you think Zoe made the calls on the linebackers easier, right? So did Zoe's communication make up for his lack of lateral movement? Because that was kind of the thing with Zoe, right? If you got him in space, he was a go forward guy. You could not ask him to go side to side. But was his ability to work through what the offense was putting out there, was that worth the lack of mobility? Looking back, hindsight. We're in hindsight.
I think the hindsight on Zoe was he was the Swiss Army knife for you on that defense. So if you came out and you had him in the game, you didn't know what he was doing. Whether or not he was going to have his hand in the dirt, whether or not he was going to play with his hand up, whether he was going to come off the edge, what he was going to do. So that added an element to your defense that you didn't plan for. And if you're not planning for it and you can't set protections for it, then you don't know. So if you come out and you look up and you see Zoe, Milano, and Edmunds out there, and okay, they're going to their base package, but then you see that they only had 3 down linemen, and then Zoe puts his hand in the dirt, like, oh, they're playing nickel. What's going on? He added an element of that, and I think a small portion of that got lost when you don't have him anymore. I don't know if it was such a settling fact that he was able to say, okay, this, watch out for this. I understand that, but you had that for 2 years. You had Milano and Edmunds with that for 2 years. So I I don't know about bringing him back because I don't think he solves a lot of things. I don't really think he solves a lot of things for you because we saw him get eaten up in the run too. I love me some Zoe, believe me. But you're talking about a guy that's, 36 years old, going to be coming back, staying in shape, doing what he needs to do. He's going to come out fresh. I understand that. But what does that tell you about the current players that you've recruited, drafted, and have on your team now if you're bringing a 36-year-old in off the street?
Especially as big as rosters are, right? You've got no excuse for having no depth. The rosters are gigantic. You've got no excuse. Anything you did to yourself, right? That's where we are. Anything that has happened, you've done to yourself. So rosters are gigantic. They're gigantic.
Yeah, the
free agent pool has never been as bad as it is right now. And the reason is because you have expanded practice squad spots, right? So there's more practice squad spots than any team's ever had. So there's more signed players, which means the available free agents are guys who are pretty burned out, right? Like it's not a great free agent pool. And we'll talk about that during that episode this week. So we'll get into all that.
Bring me Snacks Harrison and Earl Thomas or Eric Reed. We need some nasty. Apex comes in. So we had a question from Anthony. He said, Mario, to your point, it says that Edmunds and Klein are bad. Is that wrong? You know what? I don't think Edmunds is bad. I just think he's hurt. And I think he's making concessions and business decisions because he's hurt. I just think Klein is not playing very well. The guy is just ridiculously sticky on everybody. He's not getting off blocks. But the other thing to that point is you have people that aren't taking blocks off of him.
Right.
So if there's a guard meeting me 4 yards down the field and the back is to pick which way he goes, it's not going to be successful.
Right. And that's why when we talk about, Zimmer had his name called a lot. Well, Zimmer was singled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was singled up.
Yeah.
Right.
They let him, okay, we're going to let you by yourself.
Exactly. Right. So those are the concessions that you make, right? It's 5-on-4, right? Like the math says one person has to take two bodies. Like that's just basic math, right? The math says.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we're getting caught up with somebody like Edmunds is getting stuck in the middle, right? Afraid to commit or late to commit or just guesses wrong. That 4th and inches, he just guessed wrong.
Just like every other guy, he was afraid to commit.
Well, he was, oh God. Edmunds was in the gap, saw Kelsey cut over because Kelsey was in an H-back spot, saw Kelsey cut to the right. So that's where he went. He shadowed Kelsey, even though the numbers were on the Bills' side. That was his awareness. His awareness didn't say, we've still got the numbers on that side of the line. I don't need to commit there. He went there anyway, I'm just going to say this till I'm blue in the face. I would love Tremaine Edmunds at an outside linebacker position, but we're not going to see that. It's never going to happen. We're not there this year. We're not there next year. It will just never happen.
They've already invested.
Can't. Yeah. Exactly. It's just you're going to be frustrated with him because this is what he is, right? He's a very athletic guy. He's fast for the middle linebacker position, but he's late to everything. Sure, could Tremaine Edmunds be your leading tackler this year? Sure, if you like your tackles being 4 yards down the field. That's where I am with Tremaine. I'm very frustrated.
Is Tremaine your offensive version of Josh Allen?
Or
your defensive version?
Elaborate.
He does reads late, but has the skill, speed, and athleticism to do what he needs to do to cover it up. Or does he not? Because I've seen him make plays last year and the year before that he's not making now, and I think it's because he's hurt. I honestly feel that's in my gut. I think that he's not that he's making business decisions. I know I said that before, but I just think he's hurt and he's not really fully committing to certain things. He's trying to keep himself upright. You know what I mean? So Edmunds is late to surprise party. So when now, everyone's talking about the offensive line. We're talking about if Ford's out longer than that he has to be. You could put Spain back in there. What's the timeline on Feliciano? We don't know. Buffalo's like Mike Tyson post Holyfield. It's just tough. It's just because we got spoiled the first 4 weeks of the year. Okay. They beat the Jets. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Rams. They beat the Raiders. Okay. Did you see any of those 4 teams as perennial playoff teams? And then you got to run into the teeth of your schedule to play the two teams that represented the AFC in the championship game. So it's frustrating, I know, and it's bothersome, and I know. But you're still in command of the thing that you wanted to be in command of. You are in command of your division.
You're also running up against Murderer's Row right now.
Yes.
Right? So you go against the Titans, you go against the Chiefs. Sure, you're going against the Jets, a Joe Flacco-led Jets who have no teeth right now. How Adam Gase still has a job, I simply just don't understand.
I think his contract's probably guaranteed, too. They just want to pay another guy. They're paying like 4 coaches right now.
Then you have the Patriots, and then you go against the Seahawks. So, again, the Jets really struggle to do anything offensively. But the Patriots are going to have to run the football to be effective. The Seahawks absolutely run the football to be effective, right? So you're looking on the other side of this. If you beat the Jets and you beat the Patriots, the loss of the Seahawks doesn't really burn as badly, right? So, again, I think we're catching some concern here for some things that yes, there are things that are of concern, but I don't think the sky is falling, right? Can you address them? That's the thing that I don't know. We are pretty far down the road to be addressing the deficiencies of your team right now. Now, the trade deadline is coming up, so there's an opportunity to go ahead and address some things, but this team has never really been about short-term decisions. We've only seen them make long-term decisions. Mm-hmm. That trade deadline would have to be a short-term decision, and I don't know how much they're really willing to give up some long-term equity for a short-term return. I don't know. They definitely don't seem to want to spend money to do that. So who knows what the trade deadline could bring.
I would be willing to, and I know it's out of Bean's character, I'd be willing to spend draft capital because of the limited amount of players you have coming out next year.
That's a good point.
That's what I would do.
Right?
I mean,
that's a good point. You don't.
I would look at that. I would look at that. I mean, you got to think that's the reason why Deion Dawkins was probably extended as much as he was because of the lack of guys. Chris Spencer actually dropped a question in the chat. He said, "How much of our blame to the D line is coaching, Eric Washington, or just new guys needing to gel?" I think when it gets to the point, I mean, you got a lot of guys in there. You got experienced guys mixed in with inexperienced guys. I think when they start to run on you, maybe a matter of pride, maybe a matter of something else, I think what happens is they're starting to be a little bit undisciplined, and they're not committing to the. I know you're about to just bury this point, Paul, but I'll just make it anyway. They're not committing to the role that they're asked to play, and they're trying to extend themselves and do too much. Jerry Hughes is a quintessential example of that, and not holding his edge on the outside. So maybe if they're not, if the defensive line coach is trying to tell them to do this and they're doing something else, I mean, it does evidently fall back on the coach, but they're not doing what I asked them to do.
So, a couple things here, right? Couple things.
Here it comes.
First off, since Brian Daboll has been the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, right? The Bills were ranked 6th in total attempts, in both 2018 and 2019. Right now, they're 25th.
Rushing.
Right? In rushing attempts.
Okay.
Right, sorry. In rushing attempts. In rushing yardage, they were 9th and 8th. Right now, they're 27th. They'll be far below that now.
Yes.
Right? Here's the thing. How can you defend the run if you can't run yourself? Right? Like, isn't this at some point, I bet you that defensive line is torching practice. I bet you they're torching practice. How does that make them better in a game? The Bills can't run the football right now.
The Buffalo Bills offensive line is worse than their defensive line?
Running the football? Yes. Yes, I am saying that.
I don't know.
I'm saying
that's a stretch,
their
bro.
offensive line. It's not. This Bills offensive line, when it comes to running the football, is horrid. It's bad, dude. It's bad.
It is very bad.
But how can you be mad at the defensive line for not being able to stop the run when you have an offensive line that can't generate gaps for the run? Like, don't these things ultimately go in sync?
Yes and no. I don't think there's a correlation. I don't think there's a huge correlation in practice.
I disagree.
I just don't. Then you think the Buffalo Bills defense would have been better equipped to handle Tannehill because they face Allen every day? What kind of logic is that?
That's not any word. First off, Tannehill's been around the league long enough to know and make his checks. So that's a different animal. I don't think it's fair comparison.
A mobile quarterback wearing number 17. They've never seen one of those before.
Oh my God, really? It's about the number. Yeah, it's about the number. I will say, Paul Berg says Feliciano has to come back now. Pec injuries take forever.
And when the majority of your thing is to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah.
Because not only when you're healthy, it's all about building back that strength and explosiveness. John Feliciano would not be effective playing with one hand tied behind his back. And that's what you'd be asking him to do, putting him out there right now. He'd be playing with one hand tied behind his back, and everybody would know it.
He would. And I want to just get to Ray's question real quick because I want to talk about Feliciano real quick as well. Ray Zielinski, 1 to 10, #sports. How much are you freaking out? I actually want the whole chat to put that in there. 1 being calm, 10 being, oh my God, season's over. 1 to 10, what's your panic button? I love to see these. I put 4 in the chat. I know, Paul. You said last week you were a hard 6.5.
Yeah, I'm a hard 6.5. Yeah, I'm still there.
No, Ray, I am not. Big Spence 11, G-Rock 4, Miguel 3, Seamus 3, Nautica 4, Jason 3, Ultimate Guitar Wizard. Welcome back 2, Jason 8, yeah. Jesus, I love Jesus is 4. I'm like I said, I'm about a 4 in the panic level because I think it was due to the game plan. I think the game plan. I just think that there's always that one game championship teams have every year. Do I think this is a championship team with the talent? I think this is a championship team.
Mar, we could have said that last week too. Like 2 in a row is kind of tough to swallow.
No. Yeah, we're talking apples and oranges with these 2 weeks because last week was a lack of focus, a lack of passion. This week, I think it was by game plan. I think they failed at the game plan they wanted to implement, both offensively and defensively.
I agree and I disagree. I agree.
Shocking.
I agree because a team that scores on 40% of their offensive drives, you want to give them as few drives as possible, right? That's the whole idea. You want to give them as few opportunities to score.
Yes.
But that means you need to score points on almost every drive.
That's what I just said. I thought I just said that.
Right. You did just say that. I disagree because you got beat by almost 30 points last week, and I don't think there was a single thing in your game plan that accounted for that.
No, last week was the stinker. This week was the game plan.
They gave him 200 yards rushing in back-to-back games,
I
Mark.
said the game plan.
Jesus. Yeah, okay, so that's what they did. They walked through the meeting and went, hey, guys, remember what Henry did? This time it's going to be on purpose. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that.
At the conclusion of tonight's show, I'm going to be taking applications for my next co-host. He keeps beating the crap out of me. Somebody calls CPS. Paul's beating me up. He's already put me through a table. We have video evidence.
Yeah, we gotta get the highlight reel of that one put up and posted separately.
It'll be there. Look at CG. He's already raising his hand.
Jeez, my grave's not even cold. So Jonathan asked, do we think it's an effort issue? I think there's some things that could be construed there, right? Because you had the personal foul on Trey, the follow-up personal foul on Jordan Poyer. And then you had the effort, the hustle from Diggs, right? And those 3 instances, if you mix them all into a pot, you're like, that's an attitude issue, right? That's a culture issue. I'm not there. I don't think it's an effort issue yet, but I don't like the fact that you drop 2 games in a row and the narrative that there's some proof to the pudding there that there's a narrative there, right? I don't like the fact that there's evidence to even support that argument, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that there's kind of evidence to support that argument right now.
It's kind of like the Diggs point you made earlier.
Yeah.
Does it raise any red flags? I don't know about the effort issue. I think effort issue to me goes hand in hand with is the team buying into what's being sold to them as far as the coaches go? I think it is. But I think today with the game plan, they were just so frustrated with it. I think that's where Poyer and Trey comes in. I think they were just so upset that they were giving up chunks of yardage because you think about the penalties. The penalties were on a cornerback and a safety. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're frustrated with the front seven.
Right.
Like, come on. Like, we had this game plan. Give up maybe 4 a carry, not 7. What are you guys doing? I'm tired of making tackles back here. My back's killing me. Poyer's wife is tweeting out stuff. You know? Because people are giving them the business. But I just don't think that jumping down the throat of the Buffalo Bills at this point is the right move. I'm not worried.
I saw a bunch of people say, should we bench Edmunds? I don't think there is any way in the world that you can do that. Nope. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Edmunds and Allen's shoulders are hurt. Are they the same person?
Clayton says, Frank from Cheektowaga on Twitter, Harrison Phillips has made more commercials than tackles for loss since he came to Buffalo.
Can we talk about Terry Bradshaw, please, for 1 second? If you guys saw the game, you saw him bury Josh Allen, talk about accuracy issues.
Well, I think there's a point to be made, and Buffalo Mafia News says, you got a game coming up against the Jets. Is that one where perhaps you don't bench him, perhaps he dresses, but do you let him play the first quarter and then start playing matchup football and try and take his snaps away?
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Why?
I sound like Herm Edwards. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
You play to win the game. Hello? Because you want to talk about red flags. You want to raise a flag to the rest of the league. You put Edmunds in for a quarter, then take him out. What does that say to the rest of the league?
Everybody knows he's not healthy. Everybody knows he's not healthy. Yeah. Everybody knows.
Then you play him the entire game to show him, make him think you're weak when you're strong. You know what I mean? Make him think you're strong when you're weak.
You know what you do if you're gonna limit his snaps. You know what you do. You take Klein, you put Klein in the middle, and then you move Edmunds to outside for a series, and then just let that sit on Belichick's desk all weekend because you're playing the Patriots next.
You let that sit on Belichick's desk. Yeah, Bradshaw had a 59.1. No, was it 59.1 completion percentage? 212 touchdowns to 210 picks. You know what? When I think of those 70s Steeler teams, I think of the Steel Curtain, Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood. I think of Franco Harris, Lynn Swann making amazing catches. I think of Stallworth making amazing catches. I think of Jack Lambert in the middle. Bradshaw comes like 17th.
Yeah. I forget he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's got 4 rings. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. That's why he's there.
Well, the argument was say that to Charles Haley, but they solved that one.
They did. You know what I mean?
Anymore.
I mean, Bradshaw, Brent Roethlisberger threw for more yards than Bradshaw after 3 seasons. I mean, come on. That's true. Oh my God, we're gonna get some tweets on that one. Paul, we are at that the 2-minute warning currently for the show. Is this the roast session?
We can.
We get a 2-minute warning.
I mean, we got 115 people watching, so
we got 115 people in here. It's been steadily declining, kind of like the belief in the Buffalo Bills winning this year. Point being is this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to hashtag sports, please go down and hit that turn that red subscribe button gray and hit a like on your way out. But this is the roast session, 2-minute warning. What's going to happen is during the 2-minute warning, you guys are free to tee off on anything we said or talked about, or basically our appearances for tonight. Like Paul looks like Steve Bartman. But the point is this: you are allowed to tee off as much as you want on hashtag right now. So this is the 2-minute roast session. So make it good.
These are always
amazing.
Okay. Let's see here. Ray Zielinski, the only thing Poyer ever accomplished was marrying one hot wife. That was it. End of list.
That's it. That's all.
G-Rock, Edmunds is overrated. Ooh. That's a hot take, G-Rock.
That is a hot take. That is just...
What? Was bisectomized by the rain.
Is that a word?
Water. Listen, it's an adjective. Saying that...
I think it's an adverb.
I mean, Josh Allen, you saw it early on, right? Allen was going to have trouble with the rain. You got called a boomer, Mario.
I'm the boomer. The boomer. I'm not a
Steve
boomer.
Litz, so hard to take Mario seriously last night wearing that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt.
That shirt is amazing. Hey, I got shake and bake on today. Play me in Scrabble. I don't lose. Well, when you make up words, it's easy.
Paul is a mix between Kermit the Frog and Rick Moranis.
We saw Kermit today. He threw for 225 yards against the Bills. Ricky Bobby. I just looked at Rachel Bush's tweets.
Mario looks like he has a Beavis and Butthead beard.
Probably. I'm so smooth. I got beard on my hands. Big Spence. What the hell? I'm not sure what that's about. There's a lot to unpack there. Hughes MVP. That's a roast.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here, Hughes MVP. Mario's favorite Bills player is Ramon Humber.
You better not forget that, old man Jenkins. Of course he is.
Is Mario playing the Jeffrey Tube in 2 a day?
Paul looks like an adult that hangs out at the comic stores looking for Legend of Zelda comics. They want their headphones back.
We've all got our vices. Yeah, these are wood grain headphones. Yeah, they are wood grain.
If you saw Rick Moranis, would you say hi, ignore him, or punch him straight in the ground? I don't know. I mean, I might step on him. He's kind of short.
Bull Moose, our best player was the punter. That is true. Cody Borquest has not been a disappointment.
He is not. You know,
he's not.
Are you hanging out with your students still? Well, if you're referencing Paul, yes. Just roast Diggs' effort. Oh, God, no. All right. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, famous last words by Co Simpson. Don't you know who I am? All right. We are going to break to record our episodes for the week. We'd like to thank all of the hashtag heroes, all the members, channel members. If you wanted that as well, that is down in the next to the subscribe button if you want to join. We have the practice squad, 55-man roster, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, and Hall of Famers. Hall of Famers, be on the lookout. We're going to have a Zoom meeting this week. We're going to talk about a few things, probably right around the time that we do the roundtable. We're going to have another roundtable this week because we're actually on a regular schedule again. And be sure to look out for the bye week. Paul and I might get back in the car during the bye week as we did the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll give you guys some car episodes. You know how those are really awesome to film because I have LED lights right in my face as I'm trying to drive around Western New York, which is also fun. But to everyone who participated in the hashtag chat, we'd like to thank you and take our hats off to you. Please do not panic. This is not the end. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But the Bills definitely have some things that they have to clean up. So for Paul, I am Mario. This is Hashtag Sports. You guys take it easy.
Later, guys.